Let me tell you something right now. The breakthrough you're praying for, the success you're dreaming about, the life you're designed to live, it is already yours. But here's the true thing: you're going to have to force yourself to get it done. You think success is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, I'm here." No, no, success doesn't show up politely. It shows up when you refuse to be average one more day. You don't stumble into greatness. You drag yourself through the fire and come out forgetting it. Discipline overrides emotion. That's a universal truth, whether you're talking about building a business, transforming your health, improving your relationships, or strengthening your faith. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. Emotion is fleeting. It changes with the weather, with the conversation, with your mood, with your energy. But discipline, that's the force that remains constant even when everything around you is shaking. You can't live a purpose-driven life while being emotion-led. Why? Because your emotions lie. They see the strength of they'll tell you that you're tired when you're just unmotivated. They'll whisper that you're not good enough when you're simply untested. They'll convince you that you need a break when what you really need is a breakthrough. Emotion makes excuses, discipline makes progress. One builds castles in the clouds, the other builds legacy in the real world. Most people wake up every day looking for a feeling before they move. I don't see the strength. I don't feel like getting up early. I don't feel like making those sales calls. I feel like going to the gym. And they don't realize that every time they surrender to that feeling, they're reinforcing a mindset that says comfort matters more than calling. But discipline doesn't care what time it is. Discipline doesn't care how tired you are. Discipline shows up because it's built on decision, not desire. Desire without discipline is like revving the engine of a car in neutral. It might sound powerful, but you're going where? Discipline puts you in drive. Discipline gets you moving even when the road is awful and full of potholes. It is, see, the strength of it is the internal agreement that says, I'm not negotiating with my feelings today. The person who builds life on discipline gets results whether they feel ready or not, because their foundation is stronger than their feelings. See, emotion is temporary. You can be motivated 1 minute and distracted the next. You can be passionate 1 week and burn out the next. That's why people who rely on emotion to chase their goals always stop short. They sprint in short bursts and wonder why they never finish. Discipline is different. Discipline walks when it doesn't feel like running. Discipline builds when it doesn't feel like creating. Discipline stays when emotion tells you to quit. And here's the secret: discipline doesn't mean you don't feel fear, laziness, or doubt. It means you act anyway. Discipline is not the absence of emotion. It's the override. It's the decision to place your purpose above your preferences. The truth is, your emotions were never designed to lead. They were designed to signal. But many people let the signal become the steering wheel. If every time you feel resistance, you pull back, you're training your brain that resistance is a reason to retreat. But when you feel resistance and press forward anyway, you're reprogramming your identity. You stop being a wishful thinker and start being a disciplined executor. Discipline is the difference between the dreams of writing a book and the person who gets up at 5 a.m. and finishes one chapter at a time. It's the difference between someone who wants to get healthy and someone who prepares their meals, tracks their macros, and trains 5 times a week, rain or shine. It's the difference between the person who has a great idea and the one who forces themselves to test, launch, fail, refine, and try again. Discipline is what makes the difference. You want results. You want transformation. You want a life you know you're called to. Then you have to train yourself to stop being ruled by how you feel and start being led by what you decided. You decided to build that business. You decided to be an example to your children. You decided to pursue excellence. So stop letting your feelings negotiate your destiny. Every time you push past the emotion and obey the discipline, you strengthen a new version of yourself. A higher version, a more focused, more capable, more resilient version. This is spiritual. It's sacred. It's how you honor the assignment on your life. It's how you tell God, I may not feel like it, but I trust you enough to keep showing up. It's how you separate yourself from the masses who are waiting to feel ready. Discipline is the builder of all great things. Emotion will have you starting and stopping, giving and quitting, loving and leaving. But discipline will have you standing when everyone else has sat down. Discipline will have you sowing when the ground looks dry, showing up when the audience is small, practicing when no one's watching. And that's when your foundation becomes unshakable. Comfort is the enemy of completion. It masquerades as peace, but it's really a silent assassin of progress. Comfort convinces you that you're okay where you are, that there's no urgency to evolve. That tomorrow is just good as today for taking the next step. But greatness doesn't grow in cozy corners. It grows in the tension between where you are and where you're called to be. That tension is uncomfortable. They see the strength of it, but it's also necessary. If you're not willing to be stretched, you'll never be strengthened. Comfort is not the blessing people think it is. It's a counterfeit form of fulfillment. It gives you temporary relief, but steals long-term results. The danger of comfort is it's good enough to stay, but not strong enough to take you anywhere. And so many people settle in comfort zones and start decorating them like permanent homes. But comfort zones are supposed to be checkpoints, not destinations. They're meant to give you breath, not steal your breakthrough. When you live for comfort, you lower the volume on your calling. You trade progress for pleasure. You settle for average and start calling it balance. But there's no completion in comfort because nothing worth finishing can be built without pressure. The process of becoming who you're meant to be is forged in resistance, and resistance is uncomfortable by design. You're to sweat. You're supposed to struggle. You're supposed to feel stretched, pulled, challenged. That's how growth happens. Most people are addicted to ease. They look for the shortcut, the soft spot, the smooth path. If it's hard, it must not be for me. But hard is not your enemy. Hard is your invitation. It's proof that you're in the right place. That strain you feel, that's where character is developed. That conflict you're avoiding, that's where wisdom is found. You will never discover your full potential in a place where everything is easy. Comfort keeps you familiar. Challenge makes you extraordinary. You can't complete a vision by staying comfortable. You can't finish a race sitting down. There comes a time when you have to force yourself to lean into the discomfort, to welcome the friction, to embrace the season that doesn't feel good but is doing you good. Every time you choose comfort over calling, you delay your destiny. Every time you avoid the hard thing, you postpone your transformation. And that delay accumulates. What you avoid today becomes the weight you carry tomorrow. People think comfort means they're winning. They think if they're not stressed, they're on the right path. But there's a difference between peace and passivity. Real peace comes from alignment with purpose, not escape from pressure. And purpose will always require movement. Completion demands that you disrupt your comfort. You've got to leave the space where everything feels manageable and walk into the place where nothing feels certain. That's where vision becomes visible. That's where dreams are forced into development. Comfort is also the place where dreams die quietly, not in loud explosions, but in silent delays, in unmade decisions, in goals written down but never acted on, in projects started but never finished, in intentions declared but never executed. The enemy doesn't always attack with chaos. Sometimes he lulls you to sleep with comfort. He whispers, take your time. You don't need to do that today. It's okay to slow down. And before you know it, you've seen the spent years circling the same mountains, stuck in the same cycles, watching others pass you by not because they were better, but because they were willing to get uncomfortable. Growth hurts. Sacrifice stings. Stretching feels unnatural, but you will never complete what you're called to start if you don't develop the ability to walk through the pain of discipline, the discomfort of delay, and the fire of failure. That's where champions are made. That's where legacies are born. If you always choose what's easy now, you'll live with what's hard later. But if you endure what's hard now, you'll walk in what's extraordinary later. They see the strength. Completion demands that you get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to understand that every major achievement, every business built, every book finished, every body transformed, every soul healed, it all required someone to say, I'm willing to be uncomfortable for as long as it takes. That willingness who separates those start from those who finish. You can't wish your way into completion. You can't coast your way into excellence. You have to force yourself out of what feels good so you can walk into what is good. The process will break you before it builds you, but that's part of the design. Comfort wants to keep you safe. Calling wants to make you strong. Comfort wants you to wait. Completion requires that you move. You don't need motivation, you need revelation. Motivation is like the wind. It comes and goes, unpredictable, unreliable. One day you're fired up, full of energy, ready to take on the world. The next, you're drained, distracted, and doubting everything you once said you wanted. That's the nature of motivation. It's an emotional high that depends on your circumstances, your mood, your surroundings. But revelation changes everything. Revelation doesn't come from the outside in, it comes from the inside out. When you receive a true revelation about who you are, why you're here, and what's inside you, you no longer need someone to hype you up because your fire is already lit. Most people are waiting on motivation like it's some divine permission slip to start their journey. They say things like, when I feel ready, I'll begin, or I'm just waiting to get my drive back. But waiting for motivation is like sitting in a parked car waiting for the road to move. The road's not moving. You have to turn the key. Revelation is that key. Revelation gives you clarity that breaks confusion. It gives you conviction that cancels excuses. It's not hype, it's insight. And once you see who you are, you'll never be able to settle for what you were. Motivation speaks to your feelings. Revelation speaks to your identity. Motivation will tell you you can do it. Revelation will tell you you were created for this. One is encouragement, the other is empowerment. One lifts your mood, the other transforms your mind. And when your mind shifts, your life has no choice but to follow. Revelation makes you dangerous to mediocrity. It makes you allergic to average. It causes you to look at your current reality and say, this might be where I am, but it's not who I am. When you get a revelation about your assignment, your energy changes, your priorities shift. You start saying no to things that once tempted you. You start ignoring distractions that used to deter you. You stop trying to fit in and start standing out. You realize that what you're called to do cannot wait for the perfect conditions. It demands action now. And it's not about how motivated you feel, it's about how deeply you believe. Because belief will move you when emotion won't. Belief will drive you when the crowd stops clapping. Belief will have you building when no one's watching and growing when no one's clapping. People who live on motivation are like candles. They shine bright for a moment, then burn out quickly. People who live on revelation are like torches. They light the way even in the darkest seasons. Revelation is sustainable. It feeds your soul, not just your excitement. It's the difference between inspiration and transformation. You can be inspired 1,000 times and never change. But the moment you receive revelation, your life begins to rearrange itself to match the truth you've seen. You can't go back to being blind once your eyes are opened. That's why some people can go through hell and keep going. They're not more talented. They just have a deeper revelation. They've seen something others haven't. They've caught a glimpse of what's possible, and that glimpse is enough to keep them grinding long after the feeling has faded. That's why revelation is more powerful than emotion. Emotion is seasonal, but revelation is foundational. It's the rock you can build your discipline on. It's the truth that holds you steady when storms hit. It's what keeps your head up when the money's low, the support is gone, and the results are slow. You don't get revelation by accident. You have to seek it. You have to be willing to shut out the noise, get quiet, and ask the hard questions. You have to go beyond surface goals and get down to purpose. You have to stop asking what you want and start asking why you're here. You have to be still long enough to hear the truth about yourself, even when it convicts you. Because true revelation doesn't always feel good, but it always sets you free. It sets you free from the need for external validation. It sets you free from fear disguised as logic. It sets you free from waiting for the right mood to take the right step. Once you have revelation, you stop quitting so easily. You stop doubting so quickly. You stop needing cheerleaders just to keep moving. Because the work you do becomes an expression of who you are, not just something you do to feel good. You're no longer chasing highs, you're living on truth. You realize that this isn't just about success, it's about obedience, it's about alignment, it's about walking fully in what was placed inside of you before you were even born. Motivation might get you started, but only revelation will keep you going. Faith without action is fantasy. It sounds bold, it sounds deep, it even sounds spiritual, but if it doesn't move your feet, it's just noise. You can declare your dreams, you can affirm your goals, you can write vision boards and speak scriptures all day long, but if you're not doing the work, you're living in illusion. Real faith requires movement. Real faith requires decisions. Real faith requires sweat, struggle, sacrifice. Faith is not proven in what you say. It's proven in what you're willing to push through when everything tells you to stop. Too many people are hiding behind spiritual language to avoid personal responsibility. They say they're waiting on a sign, waiting on confirmation, waiting on the right time. But the truth is, they're not waiting on God. God is waiting on them. You can't keep saying you believe in the promise and keep avoiding the process. The promise doesn't manifest through magic. It manifests through obedience. And obedience isn't about comfort. It's about commitment to what was revealed to you, even when the conditions don't match the promise. Faith is not just belief. It's belief in motion, belief with legs, belief that shows up early and stays late. Faith is getting up when you fall, starting again when you fail, showing up when you're scared, and building when you're broke. Faith is action that makes no sense to people who don't carry your vision. It's launching the business when the economy says shrink. It's writing the book when no one knows your name. It's stepping into your calling when your qualifications say you're not ready. Faith doesn't ask for permission from logic. It simply obeys. Fantasy is safe. It lets you dream without risking anything. It lets you talk big without doing much. It gives you the feeling of purpose without the pain of progress. But you can't live your calling in your head. You can't fulfill destiny on paper. At some point, you have to build the thing. At some point, you have to take the meeting, send the pitch, make the investment, and risk being seen failing. And that's the part most people avoid. They'd rather look spiritual than be strategic. But the kingdom doesn't reward appearances. It rewards action backed by belief. Faith looks like work, not because you're earning the outcome, but because your effort proves your expectation. When you truly believe something is yours, your behavior starts aligning with that belief. You don't wait for motivation, you build momentum. You don't hope someone will come save you. You act like it's already done and move accordingly. That's what real faith does. It creates a bridge between the invisible and the tangible, not with talk, with action, with decisions, with movement. People say they're trusting God for abundance, but refuse to learn how to manage money. They say they're believing for influence, but avoid developing discipline. They say they're called to lead, but won't serve where they are. That's not faith. That's fantasy dressed in spiritual vocabulary. You can't pray your way out of principles. God's promises are real, but they're also conditional. They require alignment. They require stewardship. They require showing up when it's hard and giving when it's inconvenient. Faith is not a magic wand. It's a mindset that creates movement. It says, I might not know the whole plan, but I trust the one who does. And because I trust, I move. Because I believe, I build. Because I expect, I execute. That's what separates those who talk from those who transform. You can't confuse faith with feelings. Feelings are unstable. Faith is a choice, a decision to act like what God said is true, even when everything around you looks the opposite. If you really believe the door will open, you'll knock until your knuckles bleed. If you really believe the harvest is coming, you'll keep planting even when the soil looks dead. If you really believe the vision is from God, you'll protect it, invest in it, and push through the silence when no one claps and no one sees. Fantasy doesn't build legacies. Faith does, and faith always comes with instructions, not suggestions, instructions. Do the work. Take the step. Make the move. Say yes before it makes sense. There's no such thing as passive faith. You either believe and move or you don't believe at all, because what you truly believe will always show up in what you consistently do. You can't say you believe in healing and keep rehearsing your hurt. You can't say you believe in success and keep surrounding yourself with sabotage. Faith doesn't float in your imagination. It lives in your execution. It shows up in your daily habits, your relationships, your calendar, your conversations, your strategy, your persistence. Faith is not for the faint-hearted. It's for those who are willing to push, press, and proceed even in the absence of applause. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. Everybody wants something. Everybody has goals, dreams, intentions. But the difference between the ones who live in results and the ones who live in regret is not talent, not intelligence, not even opportunity. It's discipline. Discipline is the quiet force that turns motivation into movement. It's the unglamorous repetition of action when nobody's watching, nobody's clapping, and nobody's coming to save you. It's doing the work whether you feel like it or not, because you've decided that your future matters more than your mood. Desire is emotional. Discipline is foundational. Desire gets you excited. Discipline gets you results. You can't live your life ruled by how you feel, because feelings are liars. Feelings will convince you to quit when you're almost there. Feelings will have you negotiating with your own greatness. Feelings will trap you in cycles that look good for a moment but cost you in the long term. Discipline is what keeps you grounded when your emotions try to take the wheel. It says, I don't care how I feel, I care where I'm going. And if where you're going really matters, then what you do every single day better reflect that. Discipline is not punishment, it's permission. It gives you the power to say no to what's easy so you can say yes to what's essential. It gives you authority over your time, your focus, your energy. Most people live in reaction. They wake up and let the day control them. They wait for inspiration, they scroll for answers, they procrastinate until pressure shows up. But discipline doesn't wait. Discipline sets the agenda. Discipline tells time where to go instead of wondering where it went. If you want to change your life, change what you're committed to doing regardless of how you feel. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And your systems are shaped by your discipline. If your habits don't reflect your vision, your future will reflect your excuses. You can't say you want financial freedom and spend recklessly. You can't say you want health and eat for comfort. You can't say you want success and sleep through your mornings. Discipline isn't glamorous, but it's transformational. It's the consistent alignment between what you say you want and what you're willing to do. Discipline trains your character. It sharpens your focus. It builds endurance. And in a world full of distractions, discipline becomes a superpower. It makes you uncommon. While others are looking for shortcuts, you're mastering the basics. While others chase hype, you're building habits. While others want the spotlight, you're doing the silent work. And over time, that work compounds. It creates results that no one can deny, even if they never saw you in the process. There's nothing magical about disciplined people. They're not superhuman. They just made a decision and stuck with it long enough to make it a lifestyle. They stopped negotiating with their excuses. They stopped letting temporary pain override long-term gain. They stopped confusing being tired with being finished. Discipline says, I'm not driven by how I feel. I'm driven by what I've chosen. And once you understand that, you stop chasing motivation and start creating momentum. You're not always going to want to do it. You're not always going to feel strong. Some days you'll feel exhausted. Some days you'll feel discouraged. Some days you'll feel like it's not working. But discipline isn't about how you feel. It's about what you've decided. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to stay responsible. You don't need to be in the mood. You just need to be in motion. Because every time you show up when it's hard, you're teaching yourself that your future matters more than your comfort. Discipline is not just about routines. It's about identity. When you commit to discipline, you're not just changing what you do. You're changing who you are. You're becoming someone who follows through, someone who finishes, someone who doesn't need applause to stay accountable. That's the power of discipline. It creates internal integrity. It aligns your actions with your assignment. It gives you the ability to say, this is who I am and this is what I do, even when nobody's looking. People think greatness is about talent, but talent without discipline is wasted potential. The world is full of talented people who never showed up consistently enough to activate their gift. Discipline is the unlock. It's the reason some people rise while others stall. It's the reason some people build while others watch. If you want to build a future that reflects your potential, You're going to have to train your flesh to follow your purpose. You're going to have to keep showing up, keep pressing forward, keep doing what's necessary even when it's not convenient. That's the work. That's the difference. That's the bridge from desire to destiny. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. Everybody wants something. Everybody has goals, dreams, intentions. But the difference between the ones who live in results and the ones who live in regret is not talent, not intelligence, not even opportunity. It's discipline. Discipline is the quiet force that turns motivation into movement. It's the unglamorous repetition of action when nobody's watching, nobody's clapping, and nobody's coming to save you. It's doing the work whether you feel like it or not, because you've decided that your future matters more than your mood. Desire is emotional. Discipline is foundational. Desire gets you excited. Discipline gets you results. You can't live your life ruled by how you feel, because feelings are liars. Feelings will convince you to quit when you're almost there. Feelings will have you negotiating with your own greatness. Feelings will trap you in cycles that look good for a moment but cost you in the long term. Discipline is what keeps you grounded when your emotions try to take the wheel. It says, I don't care how I feel, I care where I'm going. And if where you're going really matters, then what you do every single day better reflect that. Discipline is not punishment, it's permission. It gives you the power to say no to what's easy so you can say yes to what's essential. It gives you authority over your time, your focus, your energy. Most people live in reaction. They wake up and let the day control them. They wait for inspiration, they scroll for answers, they procrastinate until pressure shows up. But discipline doesn't wait. Discipline sets the agenda. Discipline tells time where to go instead of wondering where it went. If you want to change your life, change what you're committed to doing regardless of how you feel. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And your systems are shaped by your discipline. If your habits don't reflect your vision, your future will reflect your excuses. You can't say you want financial freedom and spend recklessly. You can't say you want health and eat for comfort. You can't say you want success and sleep through your mornings. Discipline isn't glamorous, but it's transformational. It's the consistent alignment between what you say you want and what you're willing to do. Discipline trains your character. It sharpens your focus. It builds endurance. And in a world full of distractions, discipline becomes a superpower. It makes you uncommon. While others are looking for shortcuts, you're mastering the basics. While others chase hype, you're building habits. While others want the spotlight, you're doing the silent work. And over time, that work compounds. It creates results that no one can deny, even if they never saw you in the process. There's nothing magical about disciplined people. They're not superhuman. They just made a decision and stuck with it long enough to make it a lifestyle. They stopped negotiating with their excuses. They stopped letting temporary pain override long-term gain. They stopped confusing being tired with being finished. Discipline says, I'm not driven by how I feel. I'm driven by what I've chosen. And once you understand that, you stop chasing motivation and start creating momentum. You're not always going to want to do it. You're not always going to feel strong. Some days you'll feel exhausted. Some days you'll feel discouraged. Some days you'll feel like it's not working. But discipline isn't about how you feel. It's about what you've decided. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to stay responsible. You don't need to be in the mood. You just need to be in motion. Because every time you show up when it's hard, you're teaching yourself that your future matters more than your comfort. Discipline is not just about routines. It's about identity. When you commit to discipline, you're not just changing what you do. You're changing who you are. You're becoming someone who follows through, someone who finishes, someone who doesn't need applause to stay accountable. That's the power of discipline. It creates internal integrity. It aligns your actions with your assignment. It gives you the ability to say, this is who I am and this is what I do, even when nobody's looking. People think greatness is about talent, but talent without discipline is wasted potential. The world is full of talented people who never showed up consistently enough to activate their gift. Discipline is the unlock. It's the reason some people rise while others stall. It's the reason some people build while others watch. If you want to build a future that reflects your potential, you're going to have to train your flesh to follow your purpose. You're going to have to keep showing up, keep pressing forward, keep doing what's necessary even when it's not convenient. That's the work. That's the difference. That's the bridge from desire to destiny. Pressure is not your enemy, it's your invitation. It's not here to break you, it's here to reveal you. You don't truly know what's inside you until you're under pressure. It squeezes the truth out of you. It pulls potential out of hiding. Pressure is the tool life uses to expose what's dormant and demand what's divine. Everybody wants greatness, but not everybody wants pressure. And that's why most people stay average, because they run from the very thing that was designed to make them unstoppable. When you're under pressure, everything starts to fall away. The excuses, the blame, the comfort zones, they all get stripped off when the heat gets turned up. And what's left? The real you, the part of you that's capable, the part of you that's resourceful, The part of you that doesn't need ideal conditions to thrive. Pressure forces you to decide, are you going to fold or are you going to focus? Are you going to panic or are you going to produce? Because when you stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically, pressure turns from a burden into a breakthrough. Pressure is a privilege. It means there's something on your life that's worth testing. It means there's something in your future that requires refinement. Diamonds aren't created in silence, they're created under pressure. Gold isn't purified in comfort, it's purified in fire. You don't get to your next level without the pressure of your current one. If you're feeling it, it means you're on the edge of something significant. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. You're not being crushed, you're being carved. Most people think pressure is a sign to back off, but pressure is actually confirmation you're on the right path. You've been asking for more, praying for increase, speaking growth into existence, and now pressure has shown up to see if you're serious, because everybody wants the promise, but not everybody wants the process, and pressure is the proving ground. It separates those who wish from those who work. It reveals who's committed and who's just curious. The pressure is never about what's happening around you, it's about what's happening inside you. Pressure exposes your belief system. It reveals your fears, your limitations, your default responses. And that's the gift, because once you see it, you can shift it. You can't change what you won't confront, and pressure confronts everything fake, fragile, and unfit for your future. It won't let you carry insecurity into your next level. It won't let you bring lazy habits into new territory. It demands evolution. You're going to have to stop asking for the pressure to go away and start asking what it's here to teach you. Because pressure is a mentor in disguise. It teaches patience. It teaches perseverance. It teaches power under control. It teaches you how to keep your mind calm when chaos is loud. It teaches you how to stay grounded when nothing feels stable. It teaches you how to build from within when everything outside feels like it's falling apart. And those lessons don't just prepare you for the next challenge, they prepare you to lead. Pressure doesn't show up to destroy you, it shows up to discipline you. And discipline is what builds the foundation for every breakthrough. You can't level up without a stronger container, and pressure strengthens the vessel. It expands your capacity, it increases your resilience. It forces you to become more strategic, more intentional, more focused. It makes you ask better questions. It makes you cut off what's draining you. It makes you prioritize what truly matters. Pressure demands that you mature faster than your comfort wants to allow. When the pressure rises, the real leaders emerge. The ones who don't need comfort to be consistent. The ones who don't need applause to take action. The ones who understand that greatness is never handed to you. It's extracted from you through pressure. The reason some people seem to move faster is not because they're more gifted, but because they've learned to manage pressure better. They don't avoid it, they embrace it. They let it shape them. They use it as fuel. Every level of growth comes with its own weight. If you're feeling more pressure, it's because you've been trusted with more potential. Don't curse the pressure. Harness it. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it expose your next move. Let it break off what no longer belongs. Let it stretch your faith, because pressure is not random. It's purposeful. It shows up when it's time to shift, when it's time to grow, when it's time to go beyond what you thought was possible. What pressure pushes on, purpose pulls out. It doesn't come to crush your calling. It comes to confirm it. It's not a sign of your weakness. It's a signal of your strength. You're more equipped than you think. You're more prepared than you feel. You're more capable than your doubts will admit. And if you can stay grounded when the pressure's high, you'll find out just how much power has been inside you all along. Because pressure never creates your potential. It reveals it.